things about how this one's going to go out the window and instead just enjoy a good draft from both of these teams and then some great fun gameplay on the Rift.
Yeah,
how about that, gentlemen?
I don't know what you guys are talking about. I predicted the KT 3-2, so obviously I saw this one coming right from
of course.
Easy.
I think Azir still needs to be banned here.
I'm with you.
I think even on red side here as KT, probably want to take a look at that. Maokai and Sejuani, I think, fitting as well. As we still see those Lehens, Alistair, and Nautilus bans come through, that won't necessarily matter if he still gets Rakan, as he did in Game 3.
My big one, and I think the pivot that T1 hopefully make, is Oner away of the Kazakhs and onto the Poppy. There was an opportunity for them to do so.
Yeah.
And I don't even think that Oner had a rough game on the Kazakhs, right, the way that he did. I think on many champions, as we do get, and I also agree with this, that Tristana and BDD looked incredible on that pick. But T1 without a front line takes away so much of what I think makes this team good, and the team has looked so much better when he is on something that can facilitate, that can peel, and that can provide the safety that the rest of his team needs to carry.
And so same bans do come through here for KT that they had on the blue side last time around. Means that first pick priority will now go over to T1. And we'll see what they do take away. The Tristana being the adaptation for them does mean that Nico is left up and available. And that will be the consideration here for T1. A Nocturne composition on the cards potentially. See what KT do to respond.
Yeah, I think that it's really difficult to take the Nocturne away now. Could go Nocturne Rakan, that's been a strong duo if you want to try to go really hard into denying that combo. I don't think KT will though, as Xayah looks like is going to be the choice here for aiming. It's been a pick that he's shied away from, but Guma has been very reliant on. They'll deny that here, it looks like instead. Very easy to disengage into those Pop Blossom startups, and they'll get the Rakan as well. I think it would have been really easy for T1 to lock in Rakan and the Nocturne on 2-3 there if they didn't deny it. There'll be a Zeri lock-in once again.
Zeri Lulu.
Yeah, could just be the Zeri Lulu locked in. Keria has played, this will be his third game of the series on the champion, and he will lock that one up. So, the answer now for BDD. They know what the bottom lane is, they know what the mid lane is. He could answer the Nico with something here. We'll see what it is going to be.
With no Maokai, it's hard to lock the Jace as an answer here. And it looks like there's going to opt in Rel once again and wait to see what the bans are going to be, but this does mean he could potentially get a little bit pinched here. Now, the Nico could be a jungle pick here for T1, but it's very unlikely, I would say, at this point in the meta.
It's only been Canyon, right?
Yeah.
Who's actually played it in the jungle. Has looked pretty good in his hands, but maybe it's just a Canyon thing.
And again, I think this Rakan and Rel combination is going to be extremely threatening. We do see the, I guess it'll be like Nocturne and Poppy maybe.
Like to see that.
That will get taken away here.
Oh, what do you think about a Poppy Flex though in R4? Because they can, I guess theoretically flex it between the, no they can't.
I think
so
then,
it's impossible.
Yeah, I think it's hard because the Rel doesn't,
Yeah, the Rakan existing is the problem.
Yeah, and there's also the fact that if you end up going Viego, I don't think you're going to be too sad as T1, right? I think Viego also holds a lot of power. We've seen the Viego-Nico combo actually be quite strong. As the Talia is going to get taken away, obviously one of BDD's comfort picks.
I mean, also pretty decent into Nico, and you have a lot of threat there with the Rel, so I actually think the Talia ban is quite wise here. And at least Sin taking away here, another follow-up champion for this engage, high damage, high impact early on. Really easy setup, obviously, with the roots. As the Aatrox here goes this deep, Keen won't be able to pilot it, and it'll be taken away for the first time here for T1.
That was not the ban I was expecting.
Lissandra to potentially be the answer here. There's a lot of dive setup here, a lot of hard engage.
And I thought this was going to be a Poppy consideration for KT, but instead, they're going to lock away the Ahri. And so now, if Oner does decide to pull the trigger, and he, of course, will, you get so much value from this pick, it's kind of absurd. And there is the Gragas for Zeus, one of his greatest picks of all time as far as win rate and success. And he's going to take it blind into Keen.
And now this is kind of a gauntlet for Keen, right? Because if you end up going Jax or Renekton into this, you're basically just opting into a matchup that you know you're not gonna ever be able to hard win. And I respond in kind with the R5 Rise top.
Rise top. It has been a while since we've seen this. Keen has played this before, and it's one of the better answers, obviously, into the Gragas. The Gragas was fantastic because, as you mentioned, it's great into the Jax, decent into the Renekton. And Keen is just saying, I am going to throw in the Gauntlet. I will answer that call. There's a ton of damage also gained here. We'll see if it's tank Rise. It could be, but I don't think so. I think you have enough of a squishy line you're fighting into minus the Poppy here to where the Rise can just be machine gun Rise here and do a ton of damage to help follow up on that Zeri. They've got great setup for him as well.
One thing I am worried about, Rise, particularly in the long lane, can be susceptible to the Poppy. So KT need to keep good track of Oner. If they can ensure that Rise can get like to his first item, that side lane pressure is going to be an absolute nightmare to deal with.
It absolutely is. The best thing, though, about Rise into Poppy is the fact that he doesn't have any dashes, so Steadfast Presence doesn't do anything. Outside of that, you're right. Heroic Charge still obviously works, and you don't have any dashes, so you can't get out of the way of the walls in time. We'll just have to see how it goes, of course. As you mentioned, Wolf, like Keen, he was our top Rise guy. He was playing it after it was cool. You know, he definitely has been one to experiment with a lot of these picks, and we'll just have to see how it's going to go, because it feels like this time around, like last game, it was the Cassiopeia, which felt like the Hail Mary. Now, it's the Rise top that's the Hail Mary. I don't know whether it's quite as much of that draft gap, but I think Oner on this Poppy is going to be so devastating if he gets going.
Gonna have to agree. We'll have to see. This is a very weird draft here for KT, but it's got all the profiles, all the damage it needs, as long as they don't fall too far behind.
We'll have to see how it goes, gentlemen, as we hop onto the Rift for game number 4. All right, KT fans finding their voices somewhat here. As Gumayusi, his turn to be on the Zeri. We'll see whether he performs as well as Aiming did in the previous game. And we'll see whether Aiming is going to perform as well as Gumayusi has on this Xayah. It feels like a identity swap for these 280 carries.
And I'm really wondering, because looking at how a lot of this game has played out is try to get prior for mid and get your bot lane ahead. And that has been a really big factor, as Land's not going to be very... Well, that's... Thank you. That's...
Yeah, he's going to have to flash. BDD's going to come down, and T1, they're going to say thank you very much for all of that damage that we're allowed to put down.
Early lane gone.
Oh, and... Okay, so they don't kill him just yet.
I mean, this is really bad.
Yeah.
I don't think you can really overstate how bad this is for Aiming and Lehens. Not only losing Flash, but most of your health bar here, he has to back. Now Aiming level 1 here into Lulu Zeri. He's just going to get zoned out of experience and gold here. This is a disaster.
And you're playing into Poppy. So T1 can now just build a monster wave and try to set up. I think Cuz definitely is going to have to path towards bot side, because Oner can just triple camp. So Oner can either triple camp and then set up for a dive on bot side against, say, Rakan, who's probably going to be level 1 and will have no flash. Or he can still path towards top, and because of how far ahead Guma and Keria are, he has the ability to actually punish this Rise, which is, again, really big necessity, because if you let that lane play out in isolation, Zeus is going to really struggle.
Yeah, phase rush here on the Rise, of course, very common. Going to be helpful here in this lane. He isn't going to let the wave push into him in these early levels just to make sure he's safe.
Yeah, there you are.
There's Oner level 3.
Yeah. This is super telegraphed.
They do have vision on the KT side as Oner is going to walk towards this ward, but there's nothing that this bottom lane is going to be able to do. Although vacating the lane isn't exactly something that they need too much, convincing to do, given the fact that they haven't been having a great time. Cuz going to clear out his wolf camp as he heads towards. It is going to be Oner securing the blue, though, and the Crashdown's now on cooldown. Doesn't quite find the heroic charge, and so one trade there for Cuz. See whether it is going to save them here as the 3v3 underneath the turret. Not something that T1 are going to be looking for, but they'll still claim a massive lead And that is going to be a re-engage. Keria going to be forced to flash as Battle Dance finally going to be skilled here for Lehens.
BDD also kind of getting shoved hard in mid right now. Like, I mean, look at the mini-map. He is getting completely pushed out of the lane here. Faker absolutely dominating that. So there's just prio here everywhere on the bottom side of the map here for T1. As BD is running low on health, at level 4 at least, so we'll stave off some of this pressure, but he's out of corrupting pots as well. And man, this early game for T1 in game 4 is just so difficult to deal with. Only Keen stable at the moment.
And even without them actually picking up a kill or setting up the diver, again, I think it was very telegraphed, and obviously KT did respond well, cost path towards bot. They get an extra blue buff for Oner, who can now clear, and double Scott, who can now clear his entire bot side and have a really big lead over Cuz. Bot lane is a complete and utter disaster. And right now, early game going very much in T1's favor in a game that, again, KT, they don't have any extra lives left. You have to win this, or you are knocked down towards that regional qualifier.
Yeah, then you have to face the wrath of an angry Hummer Life Esports who are waiting in that upper bracket. And then one of either D+ Kia or DRX as Beryl attempts to make his way back. As Keen gonna find a room prison on to Zeus. I had to sneak it in.
It's a bit early for that, you know, but I thought we'd maybe get one or two, you know, out of you this weekend, but, you know.
I was expecting it today, as Cuz, and Zeus could be really big.
This could be huge, because this is the one place KT actually have a strong point.
I think he did get spotted, though. Zeus does have flash available.
Yeah, he's considering moving down to put in his trinket ward. Does get it in there as Cuz will find the lunge. And now Zeus in so much trouble. The room prison doing so much work. He does have flash. He's waiting for a body slam opportunity, and he is going to be able to flash out of it. Very nicely done there from Zeus to keep himself alive, but still has to use the flash in order to make it happen.
And Guma has got 2 plates here. He's up 15 plus CS, and mid lane, obviously a similar story. Faker has just been constantly putting the pressure onto BDD here. He's going to continue to do so. Lehens coming over to try to match Keria's roam here. But man, this game is in shambles already. Out of just a level 1 play from Lehens, the MVP of summer season.
And if this is a neutral game state, then I think the gank towards top is extremely pivotal, and it's still going to be really good for Keen, who should be able to, now with his Catalyst, be able to put up way more pressure in the lane. But because bot lane is an absolute disaster, every time that Cuz shows somewhere that isn't bot, like Guma and Keria are going to get either another like 3-4 CS lead, or they're going to push another half a plate, which is why we already see this lead in bot side expanding. Aiming is able to keep up mostly, though, in terms of experience, which is really, really big, which is also because, you know, Lehens wasn't able to.
Yeah. Nice little snare here from Faker, continuing to land these blooming bursts in the mid lane. BDD has already teleported, and so therefore, all of this damage pretty relevant.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that, you know, Aiming gets away with farming this out feels really nice in some regards, but, I mean, obviously it became very briefly a 2v2 mid. The fact that they constantly have prio, BDD is also getting his experience leached away there by Lehens isn't great either. And, I mean, now it's a 20 CS lead, like, basically from Faker alone.
Another grand entrance. This time Gumayusi just skates out of the way. A lot of skill shots here missing as Guma is just going to look for Aiming. Doesn't find the kill, but man, it's getting close as Cuz here to defend. And of course, these junglers have been fighting this whole time. BDD does have level 6, and he's moving down towards the bottom side. Is there an avenue to get in? Is now Keria possibly out of position? There's the crash down, but Gumayusi's gonna hold it. It's massive. First blood goes to BDD, but it's answered immediately as the Zeri picks up a kill, and Lehens is doing his best to run away. It's not gonna quite work out, and now Gumayusi is fighting the Ari. He flashes forward and now Aiming looks for a feather storm and shuts him down.
Oh, the KT side of the audience going crazy here, as this might be one small avenue for them to potentially get back into this game. It's huge that BDD picks up that gold because he's 30 CS down here in the mid lane. Down a plate now as well. Rise getting advantage top side, but still, you needed something as KT. Now it's gonna...
Keen just getting comboed. He's trying to realm warp his way out, and he's gonna get there because the body slam was on cooldown as well as the cask, so just barely escapes.
And he will be able to get it with his life, ultimate use, but that's not the end of the world. And if T1 didn't overstep there, I think they could have gotten that play and not given anything up. But because Faker is pushing in mid, yes, it ends up with a kill still going over. BDD doing a really good job on the bait. But like the plate and CS lead remains so firmly in favor of T1, and it means that KT just don't have any map pressure. I do think that T1 needs to start turning this into actual objectives, right? Herald is now up, playing towards that, and getting started on this early Dragon stacking, particularly when Camtech Drake is already in the Rift. Thank you for that one, Orcs. To make sure that we do keep ourselves in good soul territory.
Also, no flashes here for KT outside of Keen, obviously. He doesn't have teleport. He's not going to be here for this, so further zoning. I really like, you know, you can take an objective here, or you can just continue to push aiming out of this game as best as you can. He did pick up a kill, but getting Guma this many plates and continue to deny farm here, force the Rel bottom side, so then you can turn that pressure elsewhere into a top side play on the Herald is better. Cuz coming around.
Yeah, Gumayusi gonna ult here as Lehens almost just dies straight up from that one. Magnus Storm comes in as Cuz still wanting to press this one forward. BDD's making his way down, but there's the keeper's verdict. Oner says nope, and now Aiming's gonna have to run. He doesn't have flash, he doesn't have cleanse, and the lightning is just zapping them up. Still not quite enough damage, but they'll grab probably a turret off this.
Cuz smoked the minion there to make sure that he couldn't get hit by the lightning proc.
Really well played there, but ultimately it's still a huge win for T1. And Lehens, he didn't have 6, nobody has flash, and Aiming didn't have ult, so there just really wasn't any way that could make it happen, and Faker is just continuing to PvE here in mid. He's going to be so big when he actually starts joining team fights.
Well, the charm is going to miss there from BDD. Gumayusi just sidesteps it.
He's level 7. He's ready to fight you. He's not afraid. Look at the damage.
Yeah, actually finding a fair bit onto this bottom lane, and Gumayusi standing his ground, absolutely happy about the whole situation. Oner is going to take this first Chemtech Drake, like you mentioned. Faker was just having the best time ever in that mid lane. And KT, it feels like they're getting stretched around the map, trying to make suboptimal plays to catch T1 out.
The question mark pings, they're like, no.
Yeah.
All right, Cuz here doesn't have ultimate. Count. Like, there's just no real way for him to find an angle here, as there's a ward on this Herald, so they have full information. Keen still doesn't have his Realm Warp back. It's on a really long cooldown early on in the game, but he's still going to be able to get enough prio here to collapse over. Aiming has ult back up. This is an opportunity here for KT if they group up fast. Oh, no, misclicking on the sweeper.
Yeah, sometimes, you know, you kind of miss it. And Lehens not giggling about it this time around, because this is do or die in this particular game. That may cost him as we move towards a Rift Herald fight. Still, he looked glorious. So let's at least focus on that.
And we do have TP available here for both Faker and BDD. BDD already halfway through the map. Zeus has this time been the sacrificial lamb. That's to go for the blind pick. And as we see, Keen actually able to really do a wonderful job here. But Rise in lane is one thing. Also going to be looking towards how Keen is able to play it into some of the offensive threats and repositioning that is available here for T1 as Keria gets it back in.
Yeah, Oner in this area just wanting to make sure that the Rift Herald is still potentially under their control. Faker in the bottom lane, teleport available.
I mean, because T1 have these individual leads that are so hefty in every matchup, obviously besides top side, they can just say, oh, let's just delay Herald, and then Faker would keep pushing, and there's nothing BDD can do, and eventually he's going to get further leads there on the bottom side, and Keen isn't able to get the same sort of value here into this Gragas, and KT are so slow to start this Herald up because T1 are constantly keeping one hand in this pit, essentially. Now, finally started up here by KT. Both mid laners have teleport.
Yeah, control, it's sort of all over the places. There's the flash forward from Lehens. He tries to find the quickness, but doesn't get there. Keeper's verdict goes wide as now Keen is sprinting away from Keria and Gumayusi, and Zeus is looking to start up Shelly now. It's a wild goose chase for Oner as he's now looking to turn it. Cuz is going to intelligently not go into the Realm Warp as the Magnus Storm comes down. So they trade maybe their jungler for a Herald, but this one's going down very, very slowly. And there's the last auto. So Aiming's going to lock down that kill onto the Poppy. And now they look to burst down the Rift Herald. And T1 will be able to get it. So it's an unorthodox way of locking it down. But I guess we take it.
Very messy though, because this gives BDD the opportunity to catch back up both in CS and in plates. It also is an invested TP from Faker. And a kill going over to Aiming. And if they get mid lane turret, I think that you might call it worth at the end, but definitely a bit clunky there from T1. I think Zeus was still catching a wave on top, and then in that situation, Oner can't really be that deep into enemy territory.
And I feel like for Lehens, you can see some of the frustrations of the nerves that are starting to come online a little bit for him in the series. The misclick on the sweeper there onto the stopwatch, which he's now sold. The engage here as well into Oner a little bit sloppy as he tries to go in. I think if they actually kill the Poppy quickly, they can continue to contest for that Herald, and it's a lot better here for KT. Instead, he does ultimately kind of mess it up, and then Oner can buy a ton of space. This is going to be some additional gold going down here in mid. Not the whole turret, but the majority of it. More plate gold over to this Zeri.
Yeah, that is
You'll get
a lot of
eventually.
money.
There
Not going to get the last plate, but will be able to lock down the turret. So that is first turret blood going over to T1. They're going to push ahead to about a 2,000 gold lead. Looking pretty reminiscent of the first two games rather than the third so far. KT, they do have a winning top side of the map for what feels like the first time in this series as well. So there are some differences, but based on momentum, certainly feels great for T1 at this point. Gumayusi just kind of gigantic. 150 CS in comparison to the 120, and the mid lane, even worse of a story here for BDD.
We haven't seen the Rise in a while, and I think the thing with isolated matchups is, right, if you're a Cassandra, you go down, you will still be able to provide value. If you're an Aatrox and you get fed, we know what he can do in team fights. We haven't seen Rise top for so long that I don't know how keen he's going to be able to play these fights. Like, into Poppy and Gragas specifically, I feel like your positioning needs to be so crisp, because one misstep, and you have to either flash. Now, obviously, Rise turns into a absolute menace, terrifying machine gun of a champion if they can get to late, as we might have a 5v5 here for this fight. If T1 can get to 2 Drakes, gonna be feeling really good.
He just teleported bottom. He's gonna be behind on this play. I think T1 really have this on lock, essentially. Keen actually gonna show up for this fight, though. He's ready.
Yeah, Faker looking for a pop blossom angle as there's to keep his verdict. It does go wide. There's the 3-man though, and Faker takes matters into his own hands. Lehens immediately taken down. Zeus, he's a bit late for the fight because T1 have already won. The Blade Caller is decent, but it's not quite going to be enough as Cuz's life may be safe, and no, the barrel comes down and demolishes them. Keen doing the best he can, BDD as well, trying to save it. Orbit Deception not quite there. He's got another one. The Charm is going to land. T1's health bars are so low, but still no kill for KT.
I think if this is the late game and Rise has a few more items, maybe you can chase this one down. Maybe you can bounce that damage through those low health bars, even at low health yourself when that Charm comes through. But they just don't have enough, and it's really just about Faker's engage here. Look at the angle. Pop Blossom flash into 3. Keen's able to sidestep it critically, but it's instantly a dead Rakan, and aiming is out of this fight. Cuz getting chased down, and Keen just can't offer anything alone. There's no front line for him.
What's really big, though, is that while they're able to actually kill Cuz, they expend so many resources, and Lehens dies very early, which means he's able to actually make his way back towards the play. And we did see in the picture-in-picture that KT still picked up the Dragon, so it's a 2-0 when it comes to kills. The gold lead gonna remain firmly in T1's favor, but KT are still able to prevent the Drake stacking, and that's good, because playing into a Zeri with Cloud Soul, I don't think is very fun and interactive gameplay.
No, that doesn't sound very enjoyable at all. I do love Cloud Souls, though, as now Keen is flashing on top of Faker. Gumayusi turns up, though, and KT gonna realize that they ain't winning this one, and Oner, he's here as well. Doesn't quite have the ultimate as another Pop Blossom is gonna land onto 2. Keen's underneath the turret. It's a decent Magnus Storm, though, as Faker was tanking for too long. And KT are looking to now turn it. The quickness is glorious from Lehens, and now BDD finds everyone with the Everfrost. The cleanup should be pretty comfy, and aiming just asks everyone, what did he miss? And he missed KT finding their way back into this game.
4 kills here, and it looked so good for the turn for T1. Flashes down for Keen, and Faker has the Pop Blossom angle, but there's just too much here. The Rel sitting on ultimate, and the follow-up crash down there with the turret's help is going to buy enough time for everyone else to get over. And finally, Lehens gets the engage he's been looking for there on the follow-up, and it ends up being a huge swing of gold. KT still, or T1 still in the lead, 1,000 up, but that lead is diminished so significantly.
And what's really big here is there is no teleport available here for Zeus, and you're focusing all your damage on Keen, who has Merc Treads, a Rod of Ages, and a Kindle Gem, and ignoring Cuz on Rel. So it's a complete backfire. We see the reinforcements arrive in time, and with no ability to get Zeus towards this lane, the team fight is a complete blowout, a 4-for-1 here, and Herald is about to come up here. If T1 can take that, again, a 1k gold lead, it's nice, but it's not nearly enough. Not in the last place, because as we mentioned, this rise as we get further and further into the game. T1 relatively short in range here. If you don't take him out at the beginning of a fight, he can take down your entire team in a matter of seconds.
It really feels like a short-range handshake, both of these compositions, and it feels like a bit of a stroke of genius now that we're looking towards these compositions moving into the later stages of the game to have this rise that can throw spell flux all around the place and really do a lot of bounce damage.
And we haven't really discussed it. We talked about it briefly earlier on, and then we haven't brought it back up again because it looked really doomed. But the side lane thread this rise as well with Realm War, plus the Ahri, who's very safe in the side, allows you to have such really strong 1-3-1 here as KT, or even a 4-1 if you'd like to, because the Realm Warp can allow the entire team to collapse at a moment's notice as that upgrades here. And the Rod of Ages, 7 stacks in here, soon to be 8, is going to give Keen that additional free level to get closer to 16. So he is going to be very relevant here for the rest of this game. The question is, will they be able to win these fights? Because the last fight they won, that topside fight, was just an overextension from T1. Can KT actually use the side lane pressure to dictate the pace of fights on their terms? As this Ahri behind it, yes.
The bounce. He saw the bounce into the brush.
And not going to be believing that that is anyone other than a potential Pop Blossom waiting in that brush, so Keen going to back away. Do you want to hear my crazy theory about why Ryze is good in this game?
Yeah.
Yes,
it's
always.
a silly one. Basically what it is you try to absorb as many of the Keeper's verdicts as possible and then use Realm Warp to immediately get back there. Can mitigate it entirely, guys.
I'm glad I heard the theory. I have no regrets.
I actually think we might see that happen.
It might happen.
Yeah, no,
the problem is you probably lose your whole team before you actually make it back, but you do get back faster, in theory.
I like it.
Yeah, and you can bring all of your friends with you as well.
I think you're onto something here, Atlas.
I hope I'm not. I don't think I am. But, you know, just a little bit of a tidbit, you know, something exciting for us to think about moving forward in this series.
What about a 22? We haven't had one all series.
No, that bingo thing has been uncrossed.
Yeah, and I mean, there's just not enough control here for T1 in this game, and they also have an engaged mid and not a high DPS mid here with this Nico, so it's pretty hard to actually start this one up early, even with Zeri, you know, getting so much plate gold early on. She's still sitting on 2 items matched by aiming with those kills going over. Just not enough control here for T1 to do it in this game. I mean, who knows, if we go to 5, maybe it could happen, but look at the split push here from the Ryze. Unanswered so far. He has teleport, he has Realm Warp, and it's so difficult for T1 to start either objective right now because of this side lane threat of the 1-3-1. The Ahri pushing in as well top side. Does have teleport and is going to go back and buy. And this is looking really good for KT right now because they could slowly just take this Drake bottom side here unanswered. And Keen could join if T1 tried to force the Baron itself. And now he's just 1 level away from hitting 16. The Rod will activate. And KT very much keeping this game interesting.
Certainly are. I mean, I'm kind of loving what this Ryze is doing so far, but we're just going to have to see a few more of these team fights because we have to remember that Gumayusi got very fed very early. He's got a lot of plates that he has built into items. So it does have a couple of them now, still looking for that Hurricane. But he is still a massive threat, and T1 still have a gold advantage. It ain't over till it's over. Plus, Poppy just warps things.
There we go.
And now we're starting it up. So 22.5 minutes. I think we count that. Everyone here in the pit, KT, know exactly what's going on. And now Keen, he's going back to base. Looking to teleport in here and try and find an angle. There he is. And now Lehen's just going to get caught out. He just will be obliterated. And that is now a 4v5 that KT have to fight.
I think Faker there sent out his clone, made Lehens believe it, or rather send out himself. skipped the clone with his team and caught Lance completely off guard with the root.
And now it's really hard to win this against really fantastic turn here. Faker ready with flash ult.
Yeah, see whether Cuz can find a miracle here as Body Slam is going to go wide. VODS also trying to be tricky, and there's the teleport in from the top side of the map as Faker is going to launch his way forward as the Zeri aiming, going to get caught out of position, but Faker immediately goes golden. He's distracting them so that his team can take the Baron, but he's still going to get flashed on. The Baron does go over, and now Cuz trying to keep everyone busy. It's a decent knockback. Oner in trouble, but Keen as well is very low. He goes golden as well, but he's in amongst 4 people. Gumayusi now going to dash forward as Lahens is back in the fight, and somehow all of KT remain alive. But T1, 4 of them have a Baron.
And they get the Baron. Meanwhile, Herald was pushing in the top lane as well. And that's going to be a humongous gold swing here for T1. King gets so close, but it's not enough.
It's not enough, and I think they got 2 bingos on that one because they also got the Faker dies, but worth. And yeah, Faker is able to, with a really nice engage, pull them off, as this is Lahens here, falling for the... I fell for it, he says there, he fell for the clone.
Yeah.
And over here, this is Faker committing. Aiming doesn't ult the Pop Blossom here, so takes the majority of his health bar. And yes, Faker will die for this, but he buys enough space here. I think if Aiming ults that, maybe they could actually get him in back to this fight to chase down some of these additional kills, but T1 will still escape with the Baron. Really nice catch here on Keen, forcing out his stopwatch as well.
Oh, and then Lahens coming in last second. Imagine if he would have been there the whole time. Ends up being the reason that a couple, I think Guma had to flash there.
Yeah, Cleanse Flash was taken, and if he didn't actually have that, like if Gumayusi found himself in an awkward position a little bit earlier in that fight, then that could have been a wipe. But instead, holds onto those summoner spells until he absolutely needs them, and now KT having to try and defend so many of these turrets. This inner is in so much trouble as Lahens looking for that angle. Does not quite get there, and man, being caught by the wrong Nico has cost them so much.
I really love this build here from BDD. He's still deathless. He has a full stack of Dark Seal, and he's going Void Staff after Cosmic Drive, so he actually does a lot of damage on this Ahri. So if he and Keen can live long enough, it's so difficult for T1 to win any of these fights if Guma gets chunked out before the fight starts, or if he's picked for any reason.
Well, there's the Keeper's verdict. Unfortunately, Rise not going to be there to help him out, as now Oner is tanking this one up for a moment as Faker gets under the turret. He finds Aiming. He's going to Featherstorm the cast though, and now Faker once again has to go golden. Magnastorm's decent, but Oner is not their target. And now Lahens, he feels like it's time. Still, Gumayusi is free hitting, and Zeus goes golden. Great Charm is going to catch onto the Zeri, but it's not really going to mean that much. So just a pick off onto Faker, and it may stem some of the bleeding.
We'll see. Maybe that leads to KT being able to get themselves a dragon here. Only a pretty meager Baron power play here for T1. Faker does FTP, and we see the tempo backs come through now. I do think T1's going to get this this next dragon, but that's only 2-2. And it is somewhat of an overforce here. Only Cuz actually gets knocked away. And then a bit reminiscent of what happened on top side, trying to secure the turret.
And look at Lahens this entire time. He's waiting for an opportunity on the flank. They can't punish him. And it's like, you know, essentially Oner's trying to use this Keeper verdict, like use a Maokai to siege up a turret to make sure you get a little bit more out of your power play. But Faker's left out to dry, and then Zeus does have to go golden here. Really, really scary fight there for T1 that could have gone even worse.
Also, BDD doing so much heavy lifting there because he moves forward and threatens. The rest of the team for T1 isn't able to follow up on Faker's engage, as he might have a 5v5 for the dragon here.
KT huge. Set up around it as Keen dealing with this control ward. Faker being frustrating here as he pretends to be his teammates. That Pop Blossom at the ready, Flash at the ready. If KT are grouped up, it is very, very dangerous. BDD looking for a potential flank angle that makes his way back towards the rest of the team. I don't know whether you necessarily want to die for this one, as that is the Pop Blossom as Faker dives in. Keen gets a huge shield from his Seraph, though, as aiming once again. Featherstorm, Cuz, who was knocked away, has now come back, and he'll dive in and take Soul Point. They'll also take the team fight as the Magnet Storm is just massive. They'll sacrifice Lahens, but I think they're okay with it, as Guma's trying to be a massive Zeri, and he's going to succeed. The Orbit Deception doesn't work, but Cuz is going to be there, and now Keria will not survive. KT, they almost get the ace, and now they're looking for Faker to complete it. Is that the real one is the question. The answer's no, as Faker is on the top side of the map.
Oh,
and KT, they're still alive?
The KT are fighting tooth and nail in this game that could bring us to 5. I mean, it looks like it's impossible for them in every fight they turn, and Cuz is coming up so big on these re-engages. He's so tanky, he's coming in, and a lot of the time they're putting a lot of damage into this Rise, but he survives, he's got Merc Treads, he's got that Rod of Ages, additional health. Look at how tanky Keen is here, and he just absorbs a lot of the pressure here in this fight, and Rel is not here, so it looks like this fight is done, it's over. But then, BDD, tons of damage over the wall here as well, and then comes in, fishes for this charm as Lahens engages, and Cuz is so tanky, he's ready for the Magnet Storm turn, and T1 just couldn't do the Dragon fast enough while also trying to force in that choke point against the tanky Rise. Huge overextension means KT now in the driver's seat in this game.
And I think we also see there some of the hesitation. If you knock away Cuz, and you are looking at a three-man Pop Blossom still not being able to follow up there, as Faker should be able to TP out here.
Yeah, that was a great high five from Hirai and a great teleport from Faker to keep himself alive. Control Ward is going to give them the news that in fact he just survived, and also gets to mid lane and pushes a wave. Nicely played. Like you were saying, Wolf, the Baron has just spawned, and T1, they have sole vision of the area. Cuz gonna move in, and T1 just wasting absolutely no time. That's the wrong Faker, as we are just dancing this do-si-do once again. KT given barely any time to breathe now, as Keen looking for Faker on the flank. Finds the wrong one, as now Cuz, you can see, oh, okay, Oner not going to be able to find the Keeper's Verdict, and now it's an honest 5v5. T1 doesn't look like they really want it. And Keen's absolutely terrifying, massive amounts of health, and also does so much damage.
KT have won so many of these fights with re-engages. T1 are scared to actually force the fight early into this front line because they know that the Rel ult is going to be so massive, and Lahens seeing it with Flash and ult as well, he can follow up so easily. BDD also on a flank here, and T1 are actually just going to give up the contest.
I think you see there as well, the moment that the cancel on Oner's ultimate comes through, courtesy of Baron, immediately T1 back off the play, don't want to run the risk of trying to actually fight a straight up 5v5 here. And it means that neither team gets a decisive advantage. Faker did have end up having to teleport out of that play, which does mean maybe KT get to use Keen in a side lane, or BDD rather, in a side lane as a pressure point. So fed on this Ahri, but this game still completely open.
Yeah, it's one of the closest games we've had in playoffs, straight up. And I mean, Keen, 0 deaths. BDD, 0 deaths. Still 10 stacks of Dark Seal. And he's got his Void Staff now. With Cosmic Drive in these longer fights, he actually really hurts. This is the Ahri build people have been asking for, and he goes for it here in this game.
Oh, Cuz possibly caught out, crashes down though, and I say that, he's incredibly tanky and has Aftershock, so he'll be fine.
See the hesitation there as well. They don't want to engage onto him.
Yeah, they know that if he just presses R, he's got Flash, he's got Crash Down.
Oh, and Oner, looks like KT are okay with engaging onto him. They do manage to get the flashes. Oh, that reaction time from BDD is decent, but now the ultimate is going to be on cooldown. Some extra buttons being pressed here, although trading it for the Poppy Splash might feel all right here for KT.
And they're going to try to Keeper's Verdict to get in this choke point and start up Baron. Looks like
more fishing for this poke damage. T1 going to move into the pit as Faker does have that flank. Polymorph going to be used onto Cuz, who feels okay moving up towards this pit right now. Lahens looking for those flanks. Does find that Faker is here. Blooming Burst doing a fair bit of work, as now Keen looking for that flank angle. Huge knock-up on Gumayusi, who goes straight up to the sky, and Keeper's Verdict this time is going to connect onto him. Oh, the charm is incredible, but BDD still has to flash to get out of the way, and Faker gets into the pit and he steals it away! Faker's gonna go down as well, as BDD is running around with 0 health and reckless abandon. Keen goes golden, Cuz is still healthy. Gumayusi's terrifying though, and they cannot underestimating aiming is still also free hitting. Gumayusi, how are you still up and alive, as Zeus is just gonna be left to the wolves? T1, the bottom lane's not going to be able to do it by themselves. They've got themselves a Baron in the Realm Warp. They're looking to try and secure it. Crash down for Cuz over the wall as Gumayusi. Can he actually make the great escape? The Extendo Beam's going to slow down Cuz, but I think the speed up should be there. And Keen, he's going to end it. There it is. And the GA is going to go down. Keria dies on his own terms, but it's still going to be the delayed ace. And KT, I think they've done it. I think they may have just queued up Silver Scrapes.
I think they may have. They're going to get the Cloud Soul here as well, and they've got Baron buff aiming already, pre-pushing this top wave. And what a passage of play from every single player on KT in this fight as Cuz is knocked away early. Keen shows up to this fight, doesn't have a jungler, and they juggle the aggro so well.
That charm
is amazing here because if that Pop Blossom hits 4 players, there's just no way. Then unfortunately, Lehens here does escape with his life. And Guma just can't do it alone here. This Machine Gun Rise is going to add so much damage here. The Cuz has been waiting for the re-engage, and Guma just can't layer the damage into the squishy backline targets.
Really big there as well, is as we saw, the extra damage you get as Rel on the E.
Yeah.
There was no opportunity there for Oner to ever smite that. And I'm wondering if they just kept Zeri in the pit for literally an extra second, they get that Baron, that fight might look different, but instead, KT utilize their incredibly oppressive front line, get the Baron, get themselves the Soul, and are looking to bring us to a game number 5 and a possible reverse sweep.
Oh my goodness, this series has been extraordinarily KT. I certainly feel for the KT fans out there. We do have an example in Law whose heart is probably doing all sorts of things that it probably shouldn't. T1 fans though, still an opportunity to just win the series right here. If they make a mistake, T1 could pounce, but it's looking like it has swung the way of the roller coaster for this game at this point in time.
KT's Baron is going to expire in 30 seconds. They weren't able to secure any inhibitors, you know, so there's still life in T1 here to potentially close the series up. But the fighting against Cloud Soul,
Elder flip?
It's going to be an Elder that spawns in 4.5 minutes. They still have the ability to engage with Faker. If he finds a flank angle, it's not over until it's over. Huge advantages for KT, massive lead for them. But all it takes is one misstep, and there's still a chance here. It's not over until that Nexus falls. We have seen crazier things happen in LCK playoffs. But man, it does really feel like we are going to 5 here. 4 minutes to go until that Elder, 3 minutes until Baron. Nothing to fight for here, but KT have the menace of this Ryze, who's been level 18 for a while in the side lane, and Ahri with big damage in the side lane as well.
And what does Keen build next? Is it Void Staff? Yeah, it is. Okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering whether he was just going to go for the Rabbit.
I was kind of hoping for Death Cap, actually.
Yeah.
He only has like 490 AP.
Yeah, and then
those are rookie. You got to pump those numbers up.
No, and it's not more of Malmortius on Gumayusi, right? Like it doesn't have that much MR. Just may as well go for it. But he's now got 6 items, so this Zeri can do absolute Zeri things. Aiming also has got 6 items. Rapid Fire Cannon going to be completed here. Been a while since we've seen that one, but wants to make sure that he has the extra range available for at least a few of these autos in a fight.
The Knight's Vow here for Cuz is really, you know, so valuable without, no matter who he uses it on. If you use on the Ryze, it's just insane damage. You use it on the Xayah, it's already difficult to kill because she has her ultimate, of course, both summoners available here. Faker.
Okay, there's the Pop Blossom. Featherstorm is going to be there to react, and Faker just dies. The crash down from Cuz now is there looking for the fight, and Keeper's Verdict does absolutely nothing, and there's Lehens. He finds the backline, but Gumayusi's still alive. Gets the wild growth as well, and Zeus, oh my goodness, he basically pops like a balloon. And Lehens is going to be the one that takes down Gumayusi, because of course he is. And here it is, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's happened. I think we're going to have to queue up those Silver Scrapes because we are going to a game number 5. And KT, they come alive in game number 3. Some might say that it's a bit late, but it ain't too late. And they're going to win game 4 as well. These Nexus turrets not long for the world. Oner going to try as he might, but he's just going to provide some padding of the KDA. And here it is. KT take a second Nexus for them.